Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, the show that brings you weekly advice and news at the beginning of every weekend. Introducing first your hosts, Mack, Mark, and Landon.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Mark, joined by my dear friend and colleague, Landon.
Hey, Marky.
Hello there, bud. We are doing an exciting episode today without one of our three heads. We are, as the French would say, sans Mackenzie aujourd'hui. We are without Mack today, but we will try to do our best in his absence. How are you doing today, though, Landon?
I'm doing good. Keep that up, and Mack's gonna lose his job pretty soon.
Ooh, too soon.
The weather's starting to get nicer. I watched a little bit of Drew Lock's combine, it's pro day today. He looks okay. He missed some throws, but yeah, today I'm excited to do a mock draft with you. This year I feel like this is the least amount of mock drafts that I've done so far, so it's good to get used to the order that people are drafting in, who they like, who they don't. Guys are getting overdrafted, underdrafted, where we see values. I mean, this will lead us. We just finished values breakouts, and this, I guess, we're putting paper to pen here and doing some drafts.
So, and for you listeners who can't really put into perspective what Landon would call a slow year, he's talking like between 7 and 10 drafts a day only. So, like, he's putting up rookie numbers here. Sorry performance from him.
I know. How's the weather where you are right now?
Actually, you wouldn't believe the amount of glare that's coming in right now in my window. It's really sunny. It's nice. We have gotten rid of a lot of our snow in the last few days after a terribly cold winter. It's nice to see some of it go, but it's just now the real challenge is keeping that melted snow away from the house.
Oh, wait, out of your basement.
That's right. Out of there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the snow's pretty much gone here. I actually swung a club in my backyard yesterday. My shoes got a little bit muddy, but it's good to get out and feel like that golf season's right around the corner.
Definitely, yeah. We are a podcast that not only loves football, but we are all part of that golfing stroke as well.
Yes, sir. And the draft, the draft, NFL draft's coming up at the end of April, so
oof.
I'm getting pretty jacked about that. It's going to be a good offseason, good spring, summer, Marky.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we always like to stay up on all of the happenings with the league, and of course, if you're a fan, you will know that we are reached on Instagram. We can be reached on Twitter, and if you are a new listener, we'd love if you just subscribe on whatever format you're listening to this podcast on today. We can never have enough subscriptions and positive feedback, whatever feedback you have to give us. So if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, get on it.
On Instagram, we are at the Saturday Morning Snap. On Twitter, I am Landon _SMS. Mack is our main account, fantasy _SMS, I believe. And you are Mark Draft _SMS. So that's fitting for the type of format we're doing today.
That's right. Yes, it was intended to be a play on words, and now that is finally coming to fruition. Really waiting
all right.
on that one.
So we are doing our mock draft today on Sleeper. And I chose Sleeper because it's going to be quick and easy. You can decide the format, whether it's 10, 12, 8-person. You can draft, and it's pretty intuitive. And on the app, it will go risers and fallers. It'll stay up to date. The more people that do mock drafts, the more accurate it's going to be. This is going to be a 15-round, 12-team mock draft. I decided to draft on the 5th position, And Mark, where did you decide to go to?
I decided to go directly after you.
So we're going to steal each other's players then, is what it's going to get down to.
That's exactly it. I think there's going to be some sweating. There's going to be some worrying, and there are going to be some stolen picks. But that's the reality of it. Now the only added part to this, as opposed to doing like a live draft at the beginning of a season, is that we'll be on the phone with each other. You're not just trying to type your smack talk into a little toolbar there at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get things going here. I'm going to begin the draft, and we'll see what happens. Went Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara early with the second pick, Zeke Elliott, Odell Beckham Jr., and at the 5th spot, I have a choice between DeAndre Hopkins, Christian McCaffrey, Todd Gurley, and so on and so forth. I'm looking here. I really do like DeAndre Hopkins. This is a 0.5 point per reception draft, so Christian McCaffrey is right up there. You know what? I'm going to go with Todd Gurley. I think he will be fine. His knees are going to be fine. I think he's going to be a value at that 105 spot. This is not normally what I would do. I'd probably originally go with Hopkins personally. I know he's going to be really good this season. So do you lean Hopkins here, Mark, or do you go with a guy like Christian McCaffrey? Or
no, Landon, I am going DeAndre Hopkins. Glad he's not already gone.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you there. So we got a run of the Michael Thomas, McCaffrey, Adams. For me, Joe Mixon a little bit early. Melvin Gordon going after him is surprising. Tyreek Hill still going early in drafts with his future not really for sure. David Johnson's off the board. Juju, Julio, Nick Chubb. And so I feel like there's a pretty big drop off, but Antonio Brown is still there. Are you going wide receiver, or do you think you just go best player available?
I think best player available, and to me, it's looking right now like Antonio Brown. So I think I am, in this case, going to go wide receiver with Antonio Brown at the 2.7 spot.
He's so good. I don't know how Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs is even close to Antonio Brown in these drafts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And so I'm pretty much going to be between Lev Bell and Keenan Allen here. I'm not thrilled with Lev. I'm going to try to make it a fairly balanced draft, and I'm going to go Keenan Allen. I really do like Keenan. Wow, Lev is dropping like a rock. Well, okay. Lev somehow got back to me. You there, Marky?
I'm here.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going Le'Veon Bell here with this turn pick. I think this is a thrilling start for me. You might have a little bit of a harder pick. I'm going to pause this draft.
I'm glad you did, actually, because I did want to talk about where that ended up. So for Le'Veon to have gone that deep, I don't think that's the least bit realistic.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much to really say about the guy, which is why I wanted you to pause it. Like Le'Veon Bell right now is looking like he's going to get the ball a ton in New York. Mm-hmm. And we saw with a couple of other recent acquisitions on the Jets, like Jameson Crowder and with Robbie Anderson at the receiver positions. I feel like Le'Veon Bell is going to open up the field a lot for that team.
Yep.
But just to be clear, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is going to be that player that we remember him as, especially not in week 1 or week 2.
The O-line with the Jets last year was one of the worst in the NFL. He was fortunate to have one of the best offensive lines in football with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I obviously he's a workhorse running back in the 3rd round. It was kind of like what Joe Mixon was last year, right around the beginning spot of the 3rd round. I'm still happy to get him there. And you're right. You would take obviously Le'Veon Bell over Sony Michel? Now, who do you have between James Conner and Lev? Do you go with the better offensive line, or do you go with the better talent?
I think I would probably go with. Ooh, I think
Tough.
James Conner, better
Yeah.
offensive line, because and especially someone like Le'Veon Bell values so much from the offensive line. He's someone who sees holes and bursts through them.
Yeah.
Where on New York, I don't think there's quite as much magic that he brings to the table like he did when he was with Big Ben. Sure, it was just revealed that their chemistry wasn't actually what it would have seemed like on field. And one thing that you did see with them playing as a duo, Ben and Lev, was that decisions could be made on the fly, based off feel. And then that is how those huge plays got opened up. I don't see Sam Darnold as someone who has mastery in the same way that Big Ben does. To make those calls and to really have that immediate chemistry with Le'Veon. Sure.
It's so early in his career too. I think it'll be interesting to watch the Jets play. It'll be exciting to watch the Jets play. Now, I never really turned a Jets game on. I didn't have very many players besides maybe the Robbie Anderson late in the season on my team, but we will see. So for you in this position, you started wide receiver heavy. You could go with the 0 RB approach and look at running backs later. George Kittle. Now, projected, Zach Ertz is still on the board. He's projected to be a later round pick. I would definitely pick Ertz over George Kittle. Now, the two premium running backs on the board I see right now are Aaron Jones and Kerryon Johnson. Those two guys is what I would lean towards. I mean, Leonard Fournette is still around.
And I was just going to mention Leonard Fournette he had an uncharacteristically bad season last year, was misused, was hurt, and now I could see him coming back with a year just like he had in 2017.
Yeah.
So it is a really tough decision to make.
You have some choices. There's going to be some good players with your next pick, likely, unless there's a big running back run. You see, I guess most of these guys will probably pick running backs. I think you should probably pick a running back with this pick. There's going to be a bit of a run.
I'm leaning towards the tight end, though. It's hard because I know Kittle and Ertz are the only ones that could go this high. And I know that they're going to be gone well, I think at least one of them is going to be gone before my next one, but possibly both. So I think...
Yeah, I'm going
to roll the dice and take Kittle.
You like Kittle more than Ertz?
No, I'm going to take Ertz.
Yeah, I would agree. Ertz is the better choice. All right, let's get this going again.
You can resume it.
Resume. And so this is a good strategy for the listeners to hear. Kind of we'll see what happens. Oh, there's a wide receiver run. You will have a good, let's see here.
Oh, well, there they all go right there.
Yeah,
I mean, the top of the board, eh?
Yeah. All right, now you're left with some hard choices. You have Derrick Henry and Marlon Mack at running back. You could go another good wide receiver with Cooper Kupp. This is tough. This is tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little too early to take a quarterback, but you have a premium option in Andrew Luck there.
I'm almost tempted to go down a little bit from Cooper Kupp. He is nice.
Yeah. There's one.
I'm liking that. I'm liking Jarvis Landry as well.
Oh, this is a 2 flex position or 2 flex. Here, I'll pause it so you don't run out of time. So who are you looking at? Sorry.
I think it's between Kupp and Landry for me.
Yep. Yeah, Landry's still going to be good. He's not going to get those tough double coverages in Cleveland anymore. Yeah, go zero running
pick.
back. All right.
That's my guy.
All right, let's get her. Jarvis Landry. So for me now, I am looking at who's on my team. I've been talking about your team, Todd Gurley. I need a wide receiver. Oh, I like Chris Godwin.
I know you like Cortland Sutton too, but I don't know how much faith you have in.
He's more of a flyer pick. He's a guy. I think I'm gonna go Cooper Kupp. I do like him, as he's not really that good as my wide receiver 2 per se, but especially coming off an injury, your wide receivers are way better than mine.
Wow, and that's
Kareem Hunt.
But you lose, right? I mean, it's yeah. I don't have any running backs drafted yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's the reality when you play this game.
Yeah. So I know who you should draft next if I don't take him, and that's Devonta Freeman. He looks really good at this spot. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin. I expect a big year from Chris Godwin in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I need more help at wide receiver, a little bit more depth. And I think he's going to have a good season with Jameis and Arians there.
There's a couple names that I do like still available for running backs. A couple of guys, like you said, Devonta Freeman is still there. I do like Mark Ingram and Chris Carson as well, but I'm just going to go with Freeman. I think he is going to be that bell cow now for that backfield, and it's my best bet at the 5.6 position.
That's a great spot to have Freeman that late. The fact that he's dropping so far is great. Where Kareem Hunt, that is suspended for 8 games, is going before him, is ridiculous.
I'll say. So here is so it's me again in a it's getting pretty cold out here for running backs.
Yeah, but one stands out to me.
Me too, and I think I hope we're thinking about the same guy. I think I'm going to go Damian Williams here.
Absolutely. He stands out like a sore thumb. Your team is looking great now, having those 2 running backs with running back 1 upside. There's no reason why Damian Williams being the lone back, potentially. If they don't take one in the draft, there's no reason why he can't do it all himself.
That's right. So what are you looking at here, Landon? You're sitting on 2 running backs, 3 receivers.
Yeah. I would like to go get more running back depth, but you're right. There's not much available. Kenyon Drake. I would probably look. I'm looking later. I'm looking like a Lamar Miller kind of piece a little bit later on.
Okay.
James White.
Yeah.
Those are what I'm looking at. Most teams have now a quarterback, except for a few. So I think taking Carson Wentz here would be too early, and there's still a decent amount of tight ends available. Hunter Henry is closest up to the board, but I don't really want to take him this early.
It's funny to see that name at the top when it's based on hype, right?
Yeah. I prefer to wait for OJ Howard or Jack Doyle or Eric Ebron is still up there, but I'm not going to take Ebron that early either.
Yeah.
Vance McDonald, Jared Cook just signed with
a Gesicki could blow right up this year.
Sure, of course. I think I'm going to go Alshon Jeffrey as another wide receiver. I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah.
But I think I just got to go with a safer option. He should get the targets. He still has this might be the last year of his production. I kind of forgot about Sammy Watkins with the uncertainty with Tyreek Hill. I kind of forget about him pretty easily. But all right, it's my turn here again. Do I go another wide receiver? I need a running back. So I will go Lamar Miller. Okay. And get a solidified running back here. I've got some tough ones to start. Who are you looking at now, Marky?
Well, at this point, I don't think My RB3 is priority. I think I'm going to go back to wide receiver because a guy is still on there that I really like, and that is Tyler Lockett.
Yes, I was looking at him. And did you see the news about Doug Baldwin, how he's going to need more surgeries in the offseason?
I am aware of that.
Yeah, that's a great spit. That's a great pick.
Okay, so now back to me. We know on the Saturday morning snap, we're not big on drafting quarterbacks, so I think we're both still good to wait a few more rounds on this.
Still lots of good options available, like Matt Ryan, Cousins, Garoppolo, Winston. Drew Brees is still out there late. Like, you might as well wait. Everyone in the draft besides us has a quarterback, so we are sitting pretty unless people start taking two.
Yeah, I think at this point, difficult call, but I'm going to go back to the running back position.
Mm-hmm. Who stands out for you here? Do you go with a pass catcher like Nyheim Hines? Do you go... CJ doesn't have a landing spot yet. JJ doesn't. There's a rookie in there. Oh,
no one's really standing out enough for me right now.
Hold on here. You didn't take Matt Ryan, did you?
No, I didn't.
I should have paused that. So I wonder if I can revert that pick. I don't know if I can.
Okay, so for the listeners,
player.
I just took Matt Ryan.
Who would you like to... I can change your player. Who would you like to look at here, Mark?
Okay. I think I want to go Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards, even with the Mark Ingram signing, you're still looking at Gus Edwards.
I don't think it's I think it's going to be a very multi-dimensional running game in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So that's just, maybe it's a bit of a flyer, but I liked him last year, and that's carrying forth.
Yep, sounds good. I put Gus on your team, so you didn't have to take Matt Ryan. And I've got a minute here. My needs right now, I would say, I do need a tight end. I'm going to take a solid tight end here. There's Trey Burton up on the board, Austin Hooper. I'm an OJ Howard fan. I'm going to take OJ Howard there.
Okay.
It's going to turn around back to me. Golden Tate, I don't mind him as well. He just went off the board. Nyheim Hines. I can go with the flyer wide receiver. I liked him a lot last year. And that's going to be Kiki QT in Houston. I'm gonna stick on that wide receiver train.
Okay.
Are you looking at quarterback yet, or is it?
I'm close. I think maybe one more wide receiver for me. But it's now that so I was thinking Michael Gallup, but I know that they also just acquired Randall Cobb as of this week in Dallas. So that'll mean less targets for Gallup.
You look at a James Washington in Pittsburgh.
Of course, I've got my eye on James Washington. Of course, he's going to be the number 2 behind Juju, and he's a great athlete. He's just probably going to wait to break out. So that being said, I think I'm going to go Washington.
Yeah, you will go James Washington. It's at this point in the draft, it's a good opportunity to take flyers. Like a Gallup would be a similar guy, a guy who could break out. You see some of these rookies like Andy Isabella going off the board. I'm not quite ready to do that. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of potential, but I think I'm going to pretty much stay away from rookies for the most part until I see, I guess, until they get drafted early in the actual NFL draft. But I think it's time for a quarterback, my friend.
Yeah, me too. And it's between two guys for me. I think I'm going to take the more productive of last year, Drew Brees.
Yeah. Do you ever look to stack your players? Do you want to have a Saints wide receiver when you're drafting, or doesn't really matter to you?
It is appealing. However, it's in this format. Maybe when you're drafting quarterbacks so late, it's difficult to envision that player you had in mind being available so far down the road. I mean, when I drafted DeAndre Hopkins, I wasn't thinking of getting my hands on Watson as soon as I made that pick. And of course, he was the third drafted of the, in the first 5 rounds.
You're exactly right.
There were, five drafted, and he was the third gone.
Yeah. Good call. So I went with Phillip Rivers as my quarterback.
Okay.
Now I do have that nice little stack with Keenan Allen, but that just it just fell to me. It didn't really make a big difference for me. I'm going to go here. Julian Edelman is still on the board here at wide receiver. I'm definitely going to take Edelman.
Yes, you are.
That's got to change. I don't know why he's here so late.
Yeah.
He should be up there in the 7th or 8th round.
So difficult decision here. Mm-hmm. I've got a pretty solid, pretty well-rounded anyway for wide receiver and running back, but I'm looking at maybe another flyer here on the wide receiver position, and I like the way Marquez Valdez-Scantling is looking. I'm going to go with MVS at 11.6.
Sounds good. For me, I think I'm going to get more depth at running back now. Take some flyers in that sense. So for me, I'm looking at a guy like Deonta Foreman because I am a Lamar Miller owner.
Yep.
See Gronk going this late, eh? That's shocking. 12th round for Gronk.
I know, it's crazy.
When he solidifies to everyone that he will indeed play this year, he will go much earlier. But it's funny seeing him so late. So who are you? Are you looking at another running back, wide receiver? I mean, Carlos Hyde is still out there. You didn't. Chris Thompson. I mean, you could take my guy, Deonta Foreman.
Yeah, no one's jumping out. No one's
Josh Adams. Crazy. Josh Adams in Philly.
Josh Adams of Philly is actually probably the most tempting here. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm going to go with Foreman. I really liked him as a rookie until he got hurt. Hopefully he's back at full strength and is willing to play this season. We have one more pick until our kicker and defense.
Yep.
I could just pick the Chicago Bears defense. I might just do that because it's a really good D, and it's the 13th round, and I could still take a flyer with my next pick.
Yeah, of course. Just looking at who's left here.
There's N'Keal Harry, who I really liked. I just you don't know where he's going to end up and how really early he's going to go in the draft. You could take another quarterback with Big Ben and Josh Allen still on the board. I might do that with my last pick.
I'm actually quite inclined towards drafting Big Ben here. I know that's
no, absolutely not. It's good having two quarterbacks.
Of course, and just proven guys, right?
Play matchups. Jared Cook coming this late, it's a pretty big steal, I would say. Vance McDonald too is a good steal this late. All right.
So now it comes down to choosing a defense
and kicker. It was a pretty good draft, I would say, Marky. We're gonna go over our full teams in a second and see how they pan out.
Yeah, at this point, difficult to say. No one is really. I mean, we're defensive streamers anyway throughout the majority of the year. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go with the Patriots.
All right, and I will go with my second quarterback. I will take Tom Brady, I guess. And most of the time, now I don't have this off the top of my head. I don't even know if it's released yet, but when it comes to defenses, I will look at the first game of the schedule and target a bad offense. Now, like the Miami Dolphins, whoever plays the Miami Dolphins in week 1, that is likely the defense I'm going to target.
Yeah, there you go.
So we'll see where that goes. You're going to pick a kicker to finish us off. You're going to go with, Greg Zuerlein. That's not a bad kicker.
Okay, so my draft consists of DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Brown, Zach Ertz, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Freeman.
Yes.
Damian Williams, Tyler Lockett, Gus Edwards, James Washington, Drew Brees, MVS, Josh Adams, Ben Roethlisberger, Patriots defense, Greg Zuerlein.
That's a good team, Marky. That's a good team. You got some upside. I really do like the running backs you chose in the 5th and 6th round. Both have potential to be running back 1s this year, if they stay healthy or if they stay as the lead running back. And then obviously your wide receivers are elite with Hopkins, Brown. Landry has obviously lots of potential to be that guy. He's probably a good solid wide receiver 2 this season. With the acquisition of Odell Beckham Jr., I think the offense will just be better. There's going to be more scoring opportunities, more first down opportunities. Defense are going to have a hard time just guarding everyone in Cleveland.
And I think, with this team, it was largely taking what was left. Like whatever I would have targeted going into it got snagged up quick, and I ended up taking oftentimes just the first player that grabbed my eye. Yeah,
and guys that went after was like Calvin Ridley. I mean, and Allen Robinson is okay, but he's also it's not a high volume passing offense in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I think the volume will be good in Cleveland to give Landry a good opportunity at getting balls.
Yeah, so we'll hang on to these and we'll be able to quantify it a little later on in the season, and it's fun to look at. But I want to see yours, Landon. Tell me what you got.
So I've got Todd Gurley, Keenan Allen, Le'Veon Bell, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Alshon Jeffrey, Lamar Miller, OJ Howard, Ike QT, Phillip Rivers, Julian Edelman, Deonta Foreman, Chicago Bears D, Tom Brady is my second quarterback, and Will Lutz. All right, Mark, have a good rest of your night. Go take your dog for a walk.
Oh no, tonight's basketball night, my friend.
Oh right, and don't hurt yourself. Keep those ankles healthy.
Oh yeah, well I'll keep my own ankles healthy. I can't promise anything about my defenders though.
That's fair. All right, have a good night, man.
All right, Landon. Bye-bye. We miss you, Mackenzie.
Bye.
Miss you too, Mark.
Bye.
No, not bye, boys. I'm right here. You boys couldn't keep me away from the podcast. Jumping on a little bit later, catching these boys on their way out. But I can't help but react to the free agent frenzy that happened last week. I know we're a little bit late to the party here, but probably good to put our 2 cents on this one. I remember when the Odell Beckham Jr. news dropped. We were at Topgolf in Orlando, and the news was spreading through the bar like wildfire. It's all anybody could talk about. It's all that was on the screens, and I just remember thinking to myself, "Whoa, I cannot believe that this happened." But here we are, lots to talk about. I'm just gonna jump in and give you my thoughts on some of the biggest moves, biggest trades. And we'll just go from there, what it can mean for your fantasy teams in 2019. So let's start off with maybe the biggest piece, Le'Veon Bell to the New York Jets. People will say that Le'Veon Bell held out for nothing. He's getting less money per year than he was sort of hoping for. And I think when you look at what Le'Veon Bell did, he got a chance to rest his body. He got a long-term deal with more guaranteed money. And that's really what he wanted. 4 years, $52.5 million. will get a ton of work with the Jets. They're not going to compete for a title per se, but I think Le'Veon Bell got everything that he wanted to get, and you're hearing a lot of negative press revolving around the Steelers in that locker room, and Big Ben and his attitude towards some of the players, sort of honing an owner's mentality, a GM mentality, and that's not really something that Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell have gravitated towards. So maybe some turmoil in Pittsburgh, but I think this was a really good move for the New York Jets. I think if you hold Isaiah Crowell by any means, or even Elijah McGuire, it is a dead halt for a guy like Isaiah Crowell, and it doesn't mean a lot of good things for Elijah McGuire in terms of a dynasty prospect. I think you're not going to touch Elijah McGuire in redraft, but if you hold him for dynasty, the prospects of him being fantasy relevant in the next 3 or 4 years are probably very slim to none. I'm going to wait for OBJ. I'm going to wait for Antonio Brown right now. I'm going to skip to another guy that I've been excited about for a while, and I'm glad that he moved on. But Mark Ingram to the Baltimore Ravens, inked a 3-year deal at the age of 29. Going to be the centerpiece for this run game in Baltimore for a couple years to come. I think if you've listened to this podcast, I've loved Gus Edwards. I thought he was really safe. I looked at his metrics from last year. I liked what he did. Wasn't the biggest Kenneth Dixon fan, but I think Kenneth Dixon takes a huge step back. Mark Ingram is a very capable passing back, and that really relieves Kenneth Dixon of any real duties he had in this offense. I think you could still see Gus Edwards, but the main focus here is going to be Mark Ingram for this offense. I could see him and Gus Edwards having a little bit of a timeshare, but more like a 70-30 split if I had to take a guess at this point forward. So this one really is tough for me to understand, but Golden Tate signs a deal with the New York Giants. And if you didn't know, Odell Beckham Jr. moving on from the Giants, huge hole in the offense. I thought before this trade happened that Evan Ingram was the biggest beneficiary of Odell Beckham Jr. leaving. And then comes Golden Tate and signs with this team, and we're not really sure if the Giants are trying to sort of rebuild or reload. I really don't know, and I think a lot of people are in the same sort of questions themselves. I think there's a good chance they go out at the 6th pick and get Dwayne Haskins if they don't move up to try and get Kyler Murray. Just doesn't make sense to me, but you know, he'll probably get fed in New York. You have to give him that, regardless if it's coming from Eli or from Dwayne Haskins at some point. But I don't love it, but it is what it is. Antonio Brown going to the Oakland Raiders. Really didn't get a whole lot for Antonio Brown. The Steelers got a 3rd and a 5th, and so it's tough. I mean, I think a lot of Steelers fans are salty about the trade because they see Antonio Brown as this, Hall of Fame level, elite, best quarterback in the league type, or not quarterback, wide receiver in the league, and they think they should get the world for him. Yet you have to understand he's 30 and aging and at the end of his career, and you're just not going to get a whole lot for a guy like that. It's better just to, for the Steelers, move on, get the drama to the locker room, and whether it came from him or Ben, doesn't really matter. So probably a good move for both sides. Oakland benefits huge. I know John Gruden said that he wants to go out and sort of compose the best wide receiver corps in football, and I think he's done a really, really good job with getting Antonio Brown on the team. But at the same time, they were, the Steelers were pigeonholed into trading Brown if they wanted to get rid of him, because the only real team that fit his criteria was the Oakland Raiders. They were the only team that had the money to pay him. So what does it mean for Antonio Brown in redraft for next year, in Dynasty? Redraft, I think you're going to see him fall to, the later 2nd round. I think right now he's going as the 18th player off the board. It's tough. I think it's really, you got to go with your gut on this one. I think a lot of people are going to prefer taking Juju Smith-Schuster well ahead of Antonio Brown. It's a gamble. I think we know what we're going to get out of Juju. There's a little bit more risk with Antonio. But I think the upside of Antonio Brown, and if Derek Carr is able to return to that form we saw about 2 years ago, you could have that top 1, 2, 3 guy in Antonio Brown again, and to get him in the back of the second would be an absolute steal. So there's some risk reward with Antonio Brown this year, and I think that's what you're going to have to do when you're investing draft capital, where you're going to take him. So Odell Beckham Jr. going to a loaded Browns team. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., David Njoku, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Baker Mayfield. It just goes on and on. Like, if you look at this team's roster 2 years ago to what it is today, it is unbelievable how different this team feels. And when you put such a potent offense and you pair it with a pretty decent defense, a lot of people are saying that the Cleveland Browns are going to be, division winners, playoff contenders, and they have right now the 6th best odds in Vegas to win next year's Super Bowl. It's just, it's crazy what a couple roster moves can do on the perception of this team, and it all stems from Odell Beckham Jr. I think you're probably not going to see the same amount of production that you would in New York, just simply because he's surrounded by a heck of a lot more talent. But you can't deny that he's got a huge bump in quarterback play. Team's probably going to be in the red zone more, so he probably has a lot more touchdown upside. I hope that he sees the same amount of volume, but with other guys in this offense, I see actually a little bit of a downgrade for him in terms of receptions and yardage, but also higher upside in the red zone. So Odell Beckham Jr. will probably be around the same spot. I'm not going to go out and take him over guys like DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams. They're going to be at the top. I'd probably take Michael Thomas over Odell Beckham Jr. as well at this point, but he's still in that top 5 for me, but not top 3 like he was last year. I actually think going to the Browns hurts his fantasy outlook just a tiny bit. One guy I'm really excited about, Tevin Coleman to the San Francisco 49ers, but this news is fairly problematic because it leaves us with a lot of question marks. If you look at the 49ers roster, they've got Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida, and they just paid Raheem Mostert. What do you do? There's just too many running backs in this system. So for me, it's like, well, what are the questions about Jerick McKinnon's health? Is he actually going to be ready for next year? Why would they go out and give Tevin Coleman $30 million over 4 years if they didn't need him? So I'm thinking it has something to do with McKinnon's ACL injury last year, and just maybe his recovery's not going the way that you would have hoped. But nonetheless, Tevin Coleman joins a very theoretically exciting San Francisco 49ers team with the return of Jimmy Garoppolo, with the breakout season for George Kittle as well as Dante Pettis. I think there's a lot of things to be excited about in California with this team, and San Fran should be pretty darn solid for fantasy this year. I think they're going to have a lot of 49ers on my teams, which is crazy to say. Deshaun Jackson traded to the Eagles, and now he's back with the Eagles. This is nostalgic times for Deshaun Jackson, but I actually don't like the deal. I would have rather him stayed in Tampa Bay. I know Bruce Arians really gave it his best go to have him stay. Really fits his style of offense perfectly. And yet Jackson decides to take off and fill Golden Tate's shoes. So we'll see what that brings. I know that Deshaun Jackson's not going to be on any of my rosters next year. But nonetheless, he joins a pretty decent receiving corps with Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz, the best tight end in football, as well as Dallas Goedert. So Eagles have a pretty darn good pass attack. 5th in the NFL in passing attempts, 3rd in passing touchdowns over the past 2 years. And so I think that Deshaun Jackson going into this offense will not be short on opportunities by any means, but he's that high flyer, boomer bust type guy. And so if you can get him at a value in the later rounds, fantastic. But I'm looking at him as more of a wide receiver 3, fringe wide receiver 3. Randall Cobb going to the Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper gone. We knew that last year. But Cole Beasley's now gone too. They need a guy to fill that slot. And they got Randall Cobb on the cheap. So you kind of see this like second wave of free agency. The first week happens and everything gets wiped right out. But very recently, Dallas Cowboys come in and scoop up Randall Cobb. He's not what we saw in Green Bay in the heyday with Aaron Rodgers. But Randall Cobb's still a very capable wide receiver. His health's been an issue the past couple of years. You got to note that. But Randall Cobb on this team's going to give a lot to Dak, Zeke, and Amari Cooper. And I think just filling that Cole Beasley role, that high possession guy, third down, short, over the middle, it's going to give them a lot of security, a lot of flexibility with the offense. And I really, really like Randall Cobb going into that offense. Buffalo Bills actually did a decent job this offseason addressing some of their needs, picking up, 3 very capable pass catchers, John Brown, Cole Beasley, who I just mentioned, and Tyler Kroft, all joining the Buffalo Bills, as well as the legend himself, the man that will not say no, Frank Gore, the Infinity Stone, never ever going to stop playing football. He's going to play well into his 50s. It's a good move for these guys. I think they need a heck of a lot of help, especially with a team that is getting so thin at wide receiver. These were some great acquisitions for the Bills. I think that they could, I've said this before, I think they could at the 9th pick this year go out and get DK Metcalf. They tried to get Antonio Brown. Brown blew up the deal. Ian Rappaport had broken that news, and then it just kind of fell flat. But I think that they're still in the market for that big-time wide receiver. DK Metcalf is a rookie, but he took the NFL Combine by storm, and I think that he could potentially find himself on this roster in the closing part of the top 10 for the NFL draft. Last piece of news here that I'm going to cover. Nick Foles to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's about damn time this man got paid. Super Bowl MVP. Almost led the charge again for the Eagles this year. Been the backup for Carson Wentz for far too long. Really, really great to see him get that contract signed. Starter, 4-year, $88 million. The Blake Bortles era in Jacksonville is over. And now you're going to see a huge improvement for that team offensively. Leonard Fournette, TJ Yeldon. I'm excited for Dede Westbrook and Keelan Cole. This could be really, really good things for Nick Foles. So I think dynasty for some of those young wide receivers, it's going to be great. I want to thank you guys for sticking around for this 2-part episode. We really appreciate your listenership, if that's even a word. But if you've been listening to us for a while, we would really appreciate that if you went over to wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever it is, go over and leave us a review. We want to make this podcast the best that we can for you, and so we need to hear how we're doing. So go over, leave us a review, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're glad to have you. If you like what you've been hearing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free. We'll come into your pocket every single week, and we'll build that relationship from here. So thanks once again. We'll see you guys next week. I'm out.